Building strength versus maintaining strength. What is the difference? What I'm beginning to realize with lifting, strength building, barbell training is that it's not very difficult to maintain strength. In the process of building strength for powerlifting or bodybuilding or sports, Olympic weightlifting, you're always trying to push the envelope, trying to get better, get stronger, and obviously push yourself. And when you're getting ready for a powerlifting meet, trying to peak, you're actually trying to set yourself up so that you are at your strongest. You are increasing the weight, increasing the frequency, essentially destroying your body, beating it up so that it can overcompensate, supercompensate, and get stronger and stronger. Now, when it comes to maintaining strength, it almost seems as though that a lot of the time, all you really need to do to maintain strength is just focus on moving weight. And a lot of the time, you can stay in the 75 to 85% of your one repetition max. Of course, this one repetition max will vary from time to time. You're not going to always be at your top strength. However, what I'm figuring is that the key thing when it comes to lifting weights, whether you're injured or maybe you're taking a break or maybe you're just not that motivated, the process of not degrading or getting weaker is simply moving. And that means practicing the motions, practicing the movements and getting reps. What I'm finding with this whole new view of powerlifting and strength training of my journey in powerlifting and deadlifting is that I train clients, I try to progress their workouts and make them stronger. And what I'm beginning to realize with these people is that most of which can't make a lot of linear progressions. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, sometimes, of course they can keep increasing the weight, we can always add volume and whatnot, but a lot of the time they can't. Like, for example, giving a client or a new person to work on a 3x3, like 3 sets of 3 on a very heavy weight, like 85, 90% or plus, you'll find that it's not something they can fully channel themselves into. Like, they'll be done with 3 sets of 3, and they'll be like, oh, that's it? Because I've done this in classes when I teach a class where I teach some weightlifting. That's the thing that happens. They feel like that's it. And the truth is that they don't know how to push themselves. They have to be taught. And the truth is when someone has to be pushed, you have to watch them. Now, that's kind of what I have to do. I have to train them one-on-one. So to kind of determine someone's limit. And a lot of the time for new people, they just don't know. And I kind of what I wanted to emphasize in today's video was just really talk about, sometimes we're not always 100%. Sometimes we're not into our workout. But a lot of the time, all you really need to do to make sure that you don't degrade is simply do the movements. Stay at 75% of your most recent one repetition max, or just something that's challenging where you push yourself to a point where you have 2 or 3 left in the tank. Of course, this takes a little bit of skill and understanding yourself, but realize that the key to the thing to understand to remember is that strength is a skill. And if you haven't bench pressed for a month, bench pressed for 3 months, if you let weeks go by without bench pressing, squatting, or deadlifting, you sort of forget how. Not to say that you forget, like you literally forget. It's really more that something happens where you just don't have the same motor patterns. You degrade. It's kind of like something I've been listening to recently is Dan Carlin, Hardcore History. It's a really good podcast, by the way, talking about history. I'm listening to the Wrath of the Khans. And these Khans, the greatest conquerors of the world in history, they would have these clans, right? And they were so great because they had horses and they knew how to use their horses, and they would basically divide and conquer. But what would happen to these clans is that after they conquer an area and they would conquer a tribe or whatever, and they would destroy, that group, what happens is that a lot of those warriors that defeated them would end up becoming domesticated. And then what happens is they begin to degrade. And they begin to degrade because there's no conflict, there's no conquering. And that's kind of what happens. If you don't conquer the weights, or if you don't even try to sharpen your skills, you're gonna lose them. And the truth is, you don't, like, for example, think about the military. Just a thought here. If you don't shoot your gun, for 6 months, there's a good chance you're just not going to be as sharp. You might not always be in battle. You may never be in battle, whether you be an officer or in the military or whatnot. But the reality is you have to practice your skill that you may need. And that's in the case of kind of a real world situation being in conflict. But in weightlifting, powerlifting, strength training, it's all a process of making sure that your body remembers the movements. And the more you make it like second nature, the easier it is to channel your efforts, because that way you don't have to focus so hard on trying to figure out your position all the time and be so critical. So anyways, those are just some random thoughts. Hope you enjoyed the video. Click like if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.